when you have an invisible disability, it's like there are these two weaknesses I have. The community does not talk about them, does not even know I have these weaknesses. So they are my best kept secret. I got married quickly because someone was like, you're not going to bring up my child outside.
Oh, so you got pregnant again?
Yes. So you're not going to bring up my child outside of marriage? By the way, quickly, I got married. And then I sat there. And the day they asked me to leave, I didn't ask to stay. I didn't beg to stay because I knew I was ready to leave. So basically, even in relationships, you're like, hi, vulnerability, how do you become vulnerable?
This is a new meeting point for people all over the world to gather for healing and ultimate wellness through the solutions provided in our conversations. Welcome to Wellness with Lily. What's up, everyone, and a very warm welcome to Wellness with Lily. On this episode, I'm talking about something in science called neurodivergence, but I want to call it mind beauty, a beautiful mind. With me is Kaimuri Karauki. She is a mental health expert. You're a psychologist. You're a communications expert. You're even a politician. No better. Yeah.
The politician part.
I'm blowing your cover. I'm here for this. Yeah, okay. So I don't want to introduce you. I want you to introduce yourself.
I'm not a politician, but I'm a mother. I have two lovely children, 14 and 12. I am a sister. Like, I have a billion siblings, a daughter. So, and I'm one of the few people who is excited that both my parents are above 75 and are alive. And yeah, I work as a counseling psychologist, but mostly for interventions for learning disabilities, just to combine how education psychology works with mental health and how to make learning possible at our different levels and our different abilities. I am the co-founder of a startup called Learning Differently. So my main aim is to make sure that we can scale to Africa using, so we can scale mental health, but also learning interventions through the internet space instead of just doing it in my quiet counseling room. So we hope we can translate that and take it out to people.
Yeah. A lot of times when I've heard people describing what ADHD is, creatives especially, relate. I personally have often thought I have ADHD. This has to be ADHD. So what made you, first of all, you told me that you discovered you had ADHD at 40. What was that like? What was that moment like?
So I've always been loud, or rather I come from a family that's loud. Lily, you grew up near our house.
Yeah.
And I remember even when people were describing how to get to a place, they'll be like, go to the top of the hill, turn right. Ukisikia kelele, if it's noisy, you know you've gotten there. So we were the kind of kids who grew up with everyone with a radio in everyone's room. We talk loudly. So you know I'm from Meru.
Yeah. So
the vocal cords are really loud.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, so you think that ADHD is just that it's just loud people, and when they grow up, it will go. But nobody knew about ADHD in the family until I started doing my thesis, and we came across it. But proper diagnosis was during COVID, because now the anxiety that was always there just went up. So you said that sometimes you feel like you have ADHD.
Yeah.
And it's because when there's awareness, look like COVID-19, when everyone understood what are the symptoms of COVID-19, and if you sneezed during that time, everyone.
And then there were moments when you'd be like, I can't smell anything, guys, I can't smell anything.
So you just start living the disease because you are aware of it. And so that's why a lot of people are saying they have ADHD now, because people are aware of the symptoms of ADHD that were not communicated earlier. And then there's also the new concept now of ADHD in women. And basically, so people are saying, yeah, more women should be tested properly, more research on women and ADHD. But it's because, well, if you ask me, women experience ADHD-ish every month because our dopamine goes low. So it's low dopamine, and the feel-good hormones just disappear during our menses.
Yes.
So I usually say we are a different monster. You have 4 different monsters in a month. So you just know how to relate on the different 4 weeks.
Can we just call it people?
Yes.
4 different people.
You have 4 different people. It's true. Monsters is just during the low dopamine. Sorry, we are 4 different people.
Thank you.
But if I say 4 different people, it feels like I have 4 different personalities. It's
I'd rather go with people. Hey, monsters is a lot.
it's because it's how we communicate is scary.
Okay.
So you can imagine with ADHD, you have that low dopamine every single waking day. So how do you deal with that? How do you deal with the sadness that comes with that low dopamine? How do you deal with, so you don't have that feel-good attitude of, oh, it's a beautiful morning, let's do this. And so we didn't know. We just thought that that's how we are. We talk loudly. We like people at home, and our parents really are loud. Why are you saying
we?
The family. Because that's how our family grew up. We were loud people.
Okay. And
so I loved my childhood. I loved my childhood because, you know, when you watch those movies where people are, a child is keeping in a whole plantation full of flowers, I think that's what I felt like growing up. Because again, we had lots of fun growing up. Dad will bring games and all those things. We played cards. We went to, in fact, we used to live near the Tusker EABL, and they had a football club there. Yeah. And so there was a compound, there was a Tusker club of some sort. We used to go and play there with Dad in the evenings. Wow. So you can imagine you're going to play frisbees, like frisbee. Who had a frisbee in 1990? I did. So, and then tennis and all those kinds of things. So childhood was fun. We traveled together. We were 6 in the house and 3 more relatives. We were like 9 kids. 6. Yeah, we are 6 siblings. So, and then we always had a relative at home. So we grew up with a very big family. And that's how childhood was. And again, we went to Thika Road Christian, and you can imagine for us, it was, the class was small. The headmistress knows your parents by the second name. They've had dinner with them. So basically, it was safe and comfortable. Yeah. And I don't think that there's a time, other than in class 2, when I went for penmanship tuition, because my handwriting was horrible. I don't think there's a time that I was made to feel small about who I was. I mean, the report forms will probably write singing and dancing at the wrong time. That was for my twin sister. I have a twin sister. So, but it was, you were allowed to be free and to talk freely. Yeah. And that's what he taught us at home. Talk freely, be free. If you want to cry, cry. I was a cry baby, so I used to cry. And then I'll look up and, yes, I was a cry baby. I still am. Don't joke. Don't make me cry right now. Really? Yeah. So basically, growing up was free like that. Then we went to boarding school. And we went to boarding school when we were in class 5. And it changed. We moved to the village. So you've done Nairobi life. And then you're in a school in Embu, then have enough water, you have all these people you have to share spaces with, you begin to hear different accents from different parts of the country, and you're like, where is this? So, and that's when you started seeing that freedom you had of expressing yourself freely is not accepted everywhere. So, and you know, I'm a bit cut in how I talk. So basically, boarding school side, making us question ourselves more. So you had to walk this way, talk this way. Girls don't talk loudly, don't eat too much. You're a girl, you'll grow fat, and all those things. Prefects and noisemakers book and punishments. I mean, what were those things? We'd never gone through them. So this is us guys going outside. So if I talk in class and really I have seen something really funny, I'll burst if I don't share it. Yeah. And I'm scrubbing the pavements the next minute. Yeah. I think it was so bad that Dad even had to come to school and tell them, hey, they're not going to change. Even if you beat them, they won't change. That's how they are wired, so just leave them.
Kuka's dad. Yeah.
So basically, because we had done so many punishments, school was so punitive, and learning, so you couldn't even discover the learning disabilities then, because in the foundation classes really help. What you do, how you teach your children during the foundation is very important. Because as guys now, we could read, and you don't know why you could read. But I remember when we were doing the class 1 exam, the pre-unit exams that you joined class 1 at Thika Road Christian, we actually my sister and I did an oral exam. When I look back, I'm like, wait, she asked us to count to 100, and we did it mindlessly. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 5, 6, 7, 8, you know. And
you couldn't resist it?
I couldn't.
4, 5, 6. Yeah.
So we did because by the time it took for us to complete to write 1 to 100, I mean, we were too distracted. But we didn't know what it was. But now when you get to a boarding school where the teaching structure has changes, so you start questioning a few things about yourself, but you don't. I mean, as long as you're making above average in school, we didn't care. We got a few presents on Parents' Day. That helped us scale into that. Then, Choppy. Well, Choppy was my twin sis. I think I went to school to ensure that my sister has an education. That's what I went. I think every time I look back, I was like, I was in that school just to encourage her to read.
It was got her.
To escort her. She did the reading, and then I went through school. High school was even worse, because now from Form 1 first term, I didn't waste time. All the way to Form 4, I didn't understand a thing. Like nothing. I mean, you remember that accent? And I'm going to talk about learning disabilities. Maybe I can throw in the learning disabilities so that you know why. There's a learning disability where it's called an auditory processing disorder. So it's part of this dyslexia, dysgraphia, dyscalculia. Auditory processing disorder is that works in a way that your brain cannot decode spoken language, even if it's a language you understand. But it's not because it's not because you can't learn the language. It's just that someone presented it in a pitch, an accent, a pace that didn't work with you. So you can't hear. You're like deaf. If they're squeaky and your brain is not doing squeaky, you're not gonna hear. If you notice, all my friends, I don't know that I have a friend that has an also, because I wouldn't hear a thing they say, because that's where it blocks off. So basically, in high school now, you've walked into a class where the teacher is telling you to measure the armhole. That's your home science class. You measure the armhole, and you measure hango, hey, he, ho. Remember, I am dyslexic, so I can't read properly. Then, when you have dyslexia, you also have dysgraphia. So you're misspelling words, you're writing them inconsistently. So if someone is dictating notes and they're telling you to measure hango, hey, he, ho, what do you think you will write on that book?
Your brain is not doing mother tongue.
Exactly. So your mother, that, and we used to joke about it, but it's a real problem.
I know, but it's so funny.
Yes.
Like your brain is not doing that.
Yeah. It can't decode it, and you can't help it, by the way. So the teacher I will explain something for 15 minutes.
I need to.
And because you are taught to behave, and because you are taught to behave, I made her cry. See that she's not crying, not me.
Yeah, now I'm not crying.
So you are taught to behave, so you will listen to the teacher, because probably maybe when you listen hard enough, you'll get something, but you don't. So you can imagine you have that auditory process. So I called this Mali in school. Aya, for real, tumelia.
Tumelia, nimecry.
Zifiche basi.
Unajua nini imenichekesha sana? Vile umesema,
hango hei ho.
My brain is not doing squeaky.
Yeah.
And I'm like, those women who talk like, your brain goes...
I do not hear.
Sometimes men say that when a woman is making noise at him,
they don't hear it.
Yeah.
So you can imagine. And I think in cartoon form.
Oh, you think in cartoon form?
I loved cartoons growing up. So you asked about my childhood.
Yeah.
So I love cartoons growing up. So I'm sorry about the squeaky part. It's like, I see things in cartoon form, so I'll probably communicate in cartoon form.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So you'll probably I'll be seeing Donald Duck or that guy for that guy for Martley, do something. Yeah. And because when he's really mad, he says all those, he really says stuff. It's one of my favorite
Russell Fussell.
But if you listen to some of those things, you know why our generation is broken. That was not cartoon, it was adult programming. That guy curses so much. In fact, there is a video on YouTube about how he talks, and he does it for 28 minutes. 28 minutes of cussing is a lot of cussing. It's like all you need in your life. Anyway, so basically, you asked about high school. So when you got to high school was hard because we had to read more books. They are in Times New Roman, font 10.
Yeah.
I am the kind of person who will read Usikojoe hapa.
Oh.
So, and I always like try to explain what dyslexia is, because people say, oh yeah, maybe my son is dyslexic. And because again, the awareness has made people start thinking, hey, maybe this small thing I have could be dyslexia.
Yeah.
But can you imagine if you read one word wrongly in a sentence, the whole sentence doesn't make sense, then the whole paragraph won't make sense. And your brain stores information that's been understood.
Yeah.
That's all your brain, that's what's stored in your long-term memory. And so if you do not understand that whole paragraph, even if you put water in a karai and drink coffee, you will not store enough information to do well in exam. Hata ushinde hapo. You will not store up enough information to be examinable and to do well in an exam. And that's why, again, so that's when we started making such discoveries, I'm like, so then education doesn't have to be delivered using reading only. What else can we do to make sure that that brain stores enough information to be able to be examinable, but also even to apply it for life? And that's why we started learning differently. So in high school, I performed dismally, like really badly. But in Form 4 third term, I know God puts, the teachers went on strike for 2 weeks before KCSE, the best 2 weeks of my life. A lot of guys ran away from school and went home. I stayed in school and joined discussion groups. And so I sat there. In fact, one of my co-founders right now was in high school with me, and I'm like, remember when you used to call me for discussion groups? Yes, that's how I studied for KCSE. I sat there and listened to what people had been learning for 4 years. I just listened. I just sat in discussion groups and translated it into the paper during the exam. So I was a straight D student, as in clean. Daudi, na sio msalaba, Daudi peke yake. But I managed a C in KCSE.
Wow.
And so I went for pre-university. Because now, as guys, even our dad didn't hide. He was like, if you can make enough to just go to a private university, you're done. You're going to go to uni.
I love your dad.
Alielewa kitambo. He struggled in school.
Oh, he struggled. So he related.
He related. Mom is one who was wondering why all these people are suffering about simple things. It's just education. Soma, itaingia, ufanye kwa exam.
I know. Yeah.
Dad didn't school like that. He struggled. In fact, he jokes and he tells me, I am a Cambridge, Did he tell me a Cambridge dropout or something like that? Not dropout, but there's a thing. He just did the exam. He didn't do well, but he did the exam.
He did the exam.
Yes, and he said the fact that I did the exam, I could be an untrained teacher. So his first job was a UT, untrained teacher. So you can imagine it's the same teacher who is struggling, who is coming back to class to teach you. And that's what even we do in Kenya today.
Yeah.
You know, when they announced the results, I think somebody heard me say that, but they used to say, and the C minuses and below will be absorbed in our teachers training colleges and our TVET, whatever.
Yeah.
So like, whoa, the lowest grade is going to go to school and teach again. The struggling student. And you see this struggling student who never understood why they struggled.
Yeah.
And let me tell you, Lily, the prevalence is really high. We say that it's 20%. That's a global estimate. KU has done more research than some of us. So I was in a webinar. I learned better from videos and interactions again. And that lady from Kenyatta University said, no, from our research, it's up to 30%. There's trauma, there's nutrition and all those things. So we found out that probably the prevalence in Kenya could be 30%. So it's no longer 1 in every 5. It's 1 in every 4.5 people. Well, round off to the nearest could have a specific learning disability. So that's crazy. So that's how I did KCSE. I went to pre-university again. I didn't look for the pre-university. Do I look like I love school finding out? No. But I loved Capital FM growing up. And there was an advert, do you want to go to England tuition free? I am like, of course. Yes. You don't pay tuition in England? I'm going. Kumbi, it was an advert for Augustana College. That's where I did my bridging course, my pre-university. And they always, at Augustana, they always say that there's no way. They don't believe that a person with a high IQ should perform dismally in school. So that's the first time I heard the word, maybe you were not taught the way you learn, or let's test. So I was tested for a learning disability. They discovered I have dyslexia. They had a counseling psychologist there who told me, Kuka, this is dyslexia. And I'm like, this what? Because of course now, writing the word and then talking about it. So that's when I discovered I was dyslexic.
Yeah.
And so I figured, kumbe, it's a superpower.
Tell me about the test. What was that test like?
It's psychometric tests, the ones that we do, the ones that we even recommend people to take. So it was a lot of quizzing, because that one I had to fill in myself. So there's a lot of quizzing with questions and stuff. And then they grade and say, according to this, please show that you're reading, you're regressing. So regressing, when you regress, when you read a word and then you don't read the next one, you repeat this one before you read the next one. Again, that's now inconsistent reading. that's not recorded by your brain. So you are reading inconsistently, so the brain has to, if you read the full sentence properly, that's when it's recorded as a coherent.
Oh, okay.
So you read inconsistently, you read words wrongly, so you mix the letters. I'll say bad instead of dad, so I say my bad is dad. And you're like, what is that? So you'll stand there and just look at it. My bad is dad. You see a billboard on Ngong Road and saying, come Hungary. I'm like, oh, people, Hungarian food again. See, we know Indian, we know American food, Thai food. Hey, what's up with Hungarian food? And
like, I'm Hungary.
But this Hungary looks so short. Like we lived on Thika Road with you guys, and you know my twin sister is called Cookie.
Yes.
And there was a truck that used to come and collect booze from EABL. And it was, and we used to wonder, hey, this truck, that Cookie looks so long. It was written Cookie in black. It was, and even dad didn't notice the problem. Kumbe the truck imeandikwa Kiuki.
Oh.
I was thinking, why is this Cookie so long?
All of you, your dad, and your twin sister?
Even my twin sister, I was like, this Cookie looks long.
Why wasn't your twin sister reading it correctly?
Because she's also dyslexic.
Oh, she is?
She is.
But how come she was doing well in school?
I think I don't know. Maybe she was understanding the teacher more. She was understanding the...
Or the oral?
The auditory part. I think was the because I was easily bored. I was so bored.
I feel like for you, the conversation
worked better.
So not somebody standing and
stuff,
lecturing.
Yes,
Okay.
Lecturing didn't work. Even when I taught for a short stint at JQuat, and I hated lecture.
Oh.
I used to walk into class with case studies. I'm like, oh, so today I assume you guys are in third year. If you're in third year, you must have learned things. Don't tell me to teach you about how to write a press release.
Yeah.
So I was like, no, us guys are coming to apply the tools you were taught. So lecturing is, because the practical doing of things. So allowing the mind, and I think that's what CBC is trying to achieve, but the teachers haven't been trained to be able to get that out of the children. But the idea is let the child solve the problem. They'll remember the learnings better, as opposed to telling them how to solve the problem. Now go and solve the problem.
Yeah.
Let them experience, let them get out of that maze.
Yeah.
That sticks better than lecturing. Yes.
A thing comes to mind. I noticed that I struggle to read documents, but if I need to extract information from that document or convert it to a table, like do something on the document, then I understand it very well. Is that dyslexia? No.
It's just reading properly. You know how to skim through things. You see, dyslexia is that you can't read the word properly. Maybe to give you an example, I worked in the media. On the day, in fact, my first day, the day I reported to work was the day the Anglo Leasing story was released. And so there were all these facts. There was a heap of facts readings that I needed to read and summarize and send to my boss to write an article the next day. So my brain summarizes very quickly. Because I'm saying, what are we looking for? What do we want to tell? Remember, you've gone with the media mentality of it has to be juicy. So what is it that you want to tell? If I'm reading through books for companies, and I worked on the business desk, so when I was writing, when they were doing budgets, it was always easy. If you know you're looking for something, you'll find it. So it was easy. I'm saying, okay, now what is the loophole here? Is there a wheelbarrow for 3 million? That's the one I want to find. So when you will see it.
Yes.
When you're
looking for
you're reading differently, yeah? So you're perusing, but you do not want to be the person analyzing every comma. So the document, it's for reference, so you do reference reading as opposed to
proofreading.
No, reference. You do referencing for you.
Yeah.
That's what you do. Instead of proofreading, you're not going to look for the comma. Oh, yeah, rightfully, yeah. So you're not doing it to edit the... So I couldn't work as an editor. And I hope my boss sees today. I'm admitting I ran away because you wanted to make me a sub-editor and I couldn't see the mistakes. So when they promoted to be a sub, I can't see the mistakes, but I can see the content that I need to extract into a different story.
I relate with you so much on that.
So basically, that is a gift, by the way, and it's not for dyslexics only. When you do academic reading, that's what you do. That's why they ask you to reference 1 million books for your Ph.D. Where did you get this info from? So you don't have to do cover to cover. where did you pick that information from and put it together to be able to argue properly. So that we do very easily. But dyslexia is that you can't read the sentence properly. So it's not understood. And it's very hard. So you can imagine that child, even if you give them 20 pages to read, like what we do in our house is that when my son goes to school, he writes the topics they've learned in school on his diary, and we watch a video. We're in the information age, people. At the end of the day, we just want that information to be stored so that it can be retrieved during an exam or application in life. You know, the way you have superstars in life. Mine was an older cousin of mine, Mundia. So I always wanted to be Mundia. I wanted to write like him because I used to read his articles and they were so well written. And I used to read with a ruler on my finger, and he spoke so well, so nicely. I'm like, yeah, you know. So I studied journalism. But of course, the written exams were horrible. The term papers were perfect. Because again, for term papers, I'm finding out, I'm interviewing people, you're doing short documentaries, you're doing a feature story. And of course, what is it called? The computer will edit for you, the typos. So that worked for me. The term papers, I scored highly. But the written exam, one of my main lecturers was called Absalom Motere. I miss him. He was a rugby guy. But he told me, Kuka, you told me to tell you the truth. So he would write on my paper. It was my paper, my end of term paper was always red, full of red marks. And he would just write there, okay, Kuka, verbal diarrhea, because there was no word that was properly spelled, and it's an end of term exam. So how are you going to be a journalist? I'm like, they have computers now. Oh my, they have computers. They have all these we had the thesaurus. No, the first thing, I was happy to just interact with Microsoft Word and use the thesaurus. So instead, I'm like, how do we make this word flowery? I was so excited by that. So now that we can use even AI, I'm like, people, what are you guys talking about? Why did we suffer so much? We suffer so much. The idea is, how sharp am I? What am I prompting? Is it the right thing? Exactly. And it's working for me. And then I can write an article with AI and get a PDF reader to read it for me. Heaven. This is heaven. I think technology is becoming heaven for people with learning disabilities. Because now, again, you see, we are interacting with that content in a different manner. And it's stored for future use and application. So I studied journalism. And then after that, it was a roller coaster. I've held a million jobs. So I worked as a journalist for a short while. Then I worked in PR. No, actually, I worked in a PR firm. Then we had a USIU coast trip for guys who graduated. So I quit the job to go for the USIU trip. Then I came back from USIU. I worked as a journalist. I did an internship for 8 months. Then I left the media. I went to a PR firm. And then from that PR firm, I went to do training, life skills training. After life skills training, I even planted a church. I have held 21 jobs. Of course, I was an intern at Nairobi Chapel. What's up, Pastor Goi? So, and even when I was was doing that, and I always thought I wanted to work with communities, there was always that nudge to, okay, let's get out of here now. Let's get out of here. Our time is done. There was that push, and it was an urgency like you've never met, you've never seen. It's like something always told me to get out of here. So my dad called it a rolling stone that collects no moss. And I always have brilliant ideas. I will defend whatever I'm doing, and you try and tell me not to be a pastor. You'll tell me what else I can do with my gift. I even did an interview to become a youth pastor twice at Parklands Baptist and I think at KCC. Then so I have done a lot of things. So when people tell me, Kuka, you know a lot of people, I'm like, I do, because I've been everywhere, people. But after that, I went back to do my master's. And I really sought to find out answers, because I was always feeling that I needed to help people not to feel the way I do. And so people say, when people tell me, yes, I'm a counseling psychologist, I'm like, my lecturer used to tell us, all of you here, you're here thinking you're coming to sort people's lives, but you're in this space because you're all screwed up. And I agree. Maybe we revolted that time, but it's true. It's true, because you are looking to answer questions about how you're feeling. And then in the process, you wind up writing a thesis about stress in the workplace. No, I didn't write about stress in the workplace. I did a research in learning disabilities. And that's when the more I discovered, the more shocked I was. And this ADHD word kept coming in my research. But later in life, that's when I discovered, dyslexia has all the superpowers. When you have a dyslexic mind, let me tell you, it is amazing. We see things in big big picture things. So to give you the numbers, 40% of self-made billionaires, self-made, they didn't work for a rich person to make money. They started from scratch, built an organization, are dyslexics. So we are talking about Steve Jobs, Richard Branson. We are talking about IKEA. We are talking about FUBU. We are talking about CNN, Philips, HP. Some of those guys who've done transformational things. I mean, I was reading about Steve Jobs and how he really needed to fix his computer when he was 12 and had pestered the tech company to send him the part for that computer. That's how even actually I think they created a spare part for it, because he was thinking, why am I stuck here? This thing needs to work, and this is the thing that's missing. So we connect very big things. So if, like, you asked me for learning this differently. Yes, I have a counseling room, but I think we are wasting rent in that space, because I'm happy to solve problems in a bigger scope. Let's go online, get all these people trained so that they can offer services to everybody. And that's how my brain is thinking. And even if you tell me to try and narrow it down, I can't. So basically, that's one of the superpowers of dyslexia.
What was your study life like when doing your master's? How had it changed now that you are more self-aware?
It didn't. I struggled.
Even after Augustana.
When I left Augustana, it didn't just, people make it look like it was a flow. So I was, after Augustana, I went to USI. No. I went, after I got my certificate from Augustana, I did a whole year without going to college. First, because we were too many, my parents couldn't afford to take like 1 million of us to school, and we had relatives our age who were in school. Literally, that's what happened. So mom was like, Kuka, you stay in a bit and let's do another year so that your brother finishes high school, but also, I think he wanted to study law and stuff, and he was bridging also. So after a year, I went to USIU, walked into USIU and said, hey, you guys, yes, I have this certificate from Augustana and I want to come and study here.
So tell me about, before you go there, tell me about that 1 year gap. What was it like? What were you doing?
It was amazing. I was dancing. I was in Olova. I danced the whole year. My mom like, that dance thing you're doing, keep yourself busy. She was happy to give me a 50 bob to go to 20 bob kushukata or 30 bob kurudi.
So for context, my brother was in Olova with you.
Yes.
And my mom was not having it.
Yes.
Yeah, she was like, no.
In fact, then remember we had crazy hair.
Yeah, you had crazy hair.
People had crazy hair. The guys used to braid their hair. My dad loved it.
Wow.
Now you see, your mom straight and narrow. She's like my mom. My mom used to see those guys and sneer. Like, But she was very generous. She used to cook. They would come and hang out in our place. But as guys, dad loved it. So I think it was ministry for her because of dad. Because dad like, wow, this is what I used to see in the US. Oh, you could go places. In fact, I was crazy enough to ask to do a master's in dance. My mom laughed her gut out. She was like, you're dreaming. A master's in what? Who wastes money in such things? I really wanted to do ballroom dancing. Now look at me. I'm a plus size woman because I didn't dance there.
Yeah.
Figure 8. So I'm size 6. I'll be a size 6 now. Look at me, 16.
Yeah. I love your dad. I love him.
So dad loved it. So I did all over for a year. But midway also, I met a lovely lady called Jackie Karanja. And she started a PR company called Crystal Blue Communication. Jackie is late. She died a few years ago. So she taught me PR. Kwa job. I have never been to a PR class, but I practiced PR in this country. I lectured in that space, but I was taught on the job. So 1 year I was crazy enough to walk into Chris Kirubi's office and tell him, oh yeah, we have this event. I want you to sponsor it. He used to call me the crazy girl, like, oh, my crazy friend. If you do that event for 3 years, come, I'll give you the sponsorship. So eventually it was sponsored, I think, when we were doing Eve Woman of the Year.
Wow, you finally got the sponsorship.
But for Eve Woman of the Year, I just told him we are the same. My sister was like, yeah, we are the same guys who've been nagging you. So this is year 3. But I think it's Polycarp who made it happen or something like that. But I danced, and then we started that PR firm with Jackie. Did side an event called Santa's Trail. I don't know who stole it from us, can't remember. But basically, we just, Jackie now taught me PR and how to get things done, how do you write the proposal. So by the time I went to third year university, I won a PRSK award, first guy to win alone. See, I know how to do it. I was taught practically. It's not a theory. Ish. And I wrote the proposal within a week. Even my thesis was written in a week.
Ish.
It's called hyperfocusing. Like,
Yeah.
you know what you're looking for.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you just put it all here. So I have templates for everything.
Wow.
Yeah, even for the work I'm doing, there's a template on how to teach different, not template, but there's a method of teaching, and it's good. So I call them SOPs, standard operating procedures,
Yeah.
on how to.
I love
Yeah.
them.
Yes.
I mean, I'm listening to you and I think I might be on the spectrum.
It is a spectrum, and I love that you bring out the word spectrum. Dyslexia, autism, ADHD, it's not a straight line. I have a friend called Irene who has an autistic daughter who is about 30 now almost. And she laughs about it. She's like, you know, you guys you think dyslexia is a problem, and as guys who have autistic children only wish that our children were dyslexic.
Oh.
Like, but it's not a straight line. She's like, but let me burst your bubble, Kuka. It's not a straight line. It's a spectrum. So you could have dyslexia here that has bits of autism, like even the social. You know, autism is mostly a social disability. So the child has to be taught even how to acquire functional living skills. How do you just say hi to people when you walk in? Because that doesn't occur to them. That should happen.
Yeah.
So basically, and then you're socially awkward. And I'm like, I have bits of that socially awkward thing, that I'll walk into a place with energy, and then when people want to be really conversational, I'm thinking, is there a back door out of this place? And I always leave. So everyone says, yeah, Kuka, you remember that day when we went to a certain place? I'm like, yeah. And I'm like, what are they talking about? I left after the first 30 minutes. I was out of there. I'll go for a conference for the morning session.
You remember the entrance and the exit.
My sister parks her car in reverse, so it's easier to leave. Like, even when they're told to park it, I was like, wewe haujui. Lazima she's always arguing with us, lazima niiweke hivi. Because how do we get out of here? Prison break. So basically, socially awkward. But
why do you have to leave so quickly?
Yeah.
Why do you have to leave so quickly?
You know what happens? It's called overstimulation. Like, people stimulate. You see that I'm talking now?
Yeah.
I think I was trying to explain that earlier. A person who is, I hate these words they use, neurodivergent, neurotypical. Let me use them for purposes of explanation. Neurotypical is people who think, whose brains are not, well, they think it's the right way, but me, I think it's a very boring way of thinking. So the boring people are neurotypical.
Conventional.
And then, no, it's boring. Then us guys, so us guys want to leave the party. So so conventional. The conventional way of thinking, the proper way, the what we've been taught way of thinking is called neurotypical.
Yeah.
So neurotypical people, I compare it to a bonfire. Ya kuni. That it takes you a while to light the fire. So they take a longer time to get into relationships and to get into fit in with people, trust and all that thing. Takes a long time. Then the fire, it starts with like a small smoke, so it smokes.
Yeah.
Then it burns into a flame, and the flame will stay for a couple of hours, and then the flame will go down into charcoal, and then the charcoal will fizzle down for 2 days into ashes. That's neurotypical thinking. Welcome to ADHD, people.
I know.
Dry banana leaves.
Yes.
In Kimeru, it's called mwankiwa magao. So the dry banana leaves, when you put it into flame, it just burns and drops into ashes.
Yes.
So that's how much we have. A lot of energy. Do we have caloristic value? Yeah. Lakini itachoma haraka na iishe.
Yeah.
So when you are telling me now to try, so as guys are wondering, I'm already at ashes. I was hyper, and then I'm locked up in my room for days. How can those be this? How can that be the same person?
Yeah.
So every time what happens when we are trying to do a task or a job, or even in the workplace, is that we are so anxious about what we're supposed to deliver. We take so much time thinking about it and getting worried about it that we don't even get it done. But when there's a deadline, like a crazy deadline, we will be there 72 hours.
Yes. So you can have a month to do a task.
We'll do it on the last 2 days.
Yes. Burning the midnight oil, isn't it?
I have a friend who has ADHD, and we were writing a book for pastors. So I was doing the research for her, and we'd been given a window of 6 months. So the 6 months, the guy would give us the contract, like, you do the first draft within first 2 months. Yeah. Then you come back and we go review and do all these things,
Yeah, I know.
So as guys, when I was sitting in the meeting, I'm like, my head is just doing yada, yada. So me and her worried about that schedule for so long. On the last month, we did workshops, we researched, we wrote, we did everything. Was so worried we missed the deadline.
Yes.
And we delivered the book.
Yeah.
The guy was really angry that we kept him out of it. But do you know what he changed in that book? 7 typos.
Yeah.
So why are we doing that whole? So we come, oh, I'm a salesperson, let's have a sales meeting every day. Why? Why?
Do you hate meetings?
Like, I loathe meetings.
Yeah.
Like abhor. Yeah, which other word is there? Look for it. That's the sorest. Yo. Oh, let's meet up. Why are we meeting up? Don't call my. But people joke about calling. I have phone phobia, like acute phone phobia. My phone is always on silent. I want to call you back when I feel safe enough to talk to you.
Oh.
So I'll do texting.
Yeah.
And I am a very good, in fact, if you're dating me, text me. If you're, I will text you away. I have the words, the memes, I have them there. Even the stickers. I learned how to make stickers the other day. But now you start saying we meet and talk. The person you are texting, the person you're talking to are two different people.
Yeah.
Because now I've already brought you into my space.
Yeah, yeah.
It's scary. So and I think I'm just showing about how diverse ADHD can be. We'll be the ones delivering that project. When there's an emergency, you won't believe it. Part of the reason I was also silly enough to be a journalist is because bomb blast happened when I was in Form 4.
Oh.
And you should have seen. I really wanted that. What is it called? A press card so that I could go there and report, because us guys are really calm when there's an emergency. Because you remember now, that's when us guys are getting to normalcy, because the adrenaline pushes us up to where you guys you've been operating. When you guys now, your adrenaline has gone up and you're scared.
You're like calm.
So how do we get guys out? You're so calm. I rolled in a bus in 2004. And I remember I carried people, we took them to hospital, did all those, got them out of the bus and all those things. I panicked like 2 weeks after that. After that, I started screaming in the house. I was like, So my sister was up. You know, you rolled in a bus. You almost died. It got up later, because the other time, that's when the trauma checked in. Because now, that's when our adrenaline now pushes us up. So you remember your low dopamine? For me, that's when the dopamine is up. I'm balanced. I'm where neurotypical people are on a normal day. Yeah. So when there's an emergency and stuff like that. So when the deadline comes, it feels like that emergency. So we'll do 72 hours, and I'm not joking. Like now, we are trying to launch our product. I slept at 3:30. And I came to meet you.
Really?
I will do another 3:30 today, by the way. Because I have all these things, so my adrenaline level is so high to deliver. I want to be in 20 countries by 31st of October. Of course, I'll sleep at 3:30. Yeah. So, and that's the drive. So if I don't have such a serious or a absolute goal, I wouldn't do it. Like, for instance, this year I tried to get a job, because the startup space last year, if guys got funding last year, man, cheers, last year was hard for a lot of people in the funding space. And so I got a job for survival.
Na nini kazi hamkosangi?
But it's true, when people ask me, can you do 1, 2, 3, 4? I can. And I will tell you. But you didn't tell me how I'm going to deliver. So when you say how I'll deliver, that would be frustrating, because you want, like my boss, and I'm so sorry, wants to meet every week, check how I'm at the pulse check, nini. I'm like, what? Yo.
I remember working at a place and I was feeling like, Aki, I'm drowning in meetings. I can't. Please, let's summarize it to an email.
Yes.
Let's do a WhatsApp group.
A WhatsApp group is enough.
Please.
And I'm going to just tell you what is relevant, and I'll read what I want to see. Like, it was in the group. Oh, let's join spaces. I'm like, what spaces? So I'm like, oh, there's a place you're supposed to chat. Do you know I can't do, there's this app people use for planning gigs, and forgetting what it's called. I'll remember.
You remember, eh?
And I can't. I'm like, if you have something to do, put it in a paper. Like, literally, write a list of things you want me to do on a piece of paper.
Yeah.
Let me take them off. Yeah. But say, I'm not Strava. I'm forgetting Strava is my running app. I'll remember. But it's a planning app. I can see it's usually purple. I'm forgetting the name.
But let me tell you, I cope by writing sometimes. Just writing them down. Writing down the checklist manually, even if it's on the screen. Yeah. It helps you to internalize and tick
Not
it
even
off.
On the screen. If I write my checklist the night before, I won't sleep thinking about how much work I need to do tomorrow. So in the morning, fasting, and my twin sister goes through the same thing. We were laughing about it the other day. In the morning, fasting, I'll write that checklist. And remember, we have attention problems. So we usually say our checklist is like our safety belt. That's what tunajifungia kwa kiti.
Yeah.
Because it will make me so scared thinking that I can leave the office and not having achieved those things. So we wind up working on ourselves because regular workspaces do not understand the neurodivergent way. I want to lock myself up and deliver what I said I will deliver. Please don't call me.
Yeah.
Don't call me.
And don't give me another subtask.
Subtask. Don't tell me let's meet every Friday and sing Kumbaya. I was so stressed, and I'm not joking. It's a job I can do. It's a job I've done severally. I was writing a manual. Things I've done severally before, but I was so sick. I added 10 kilos. I was hypertensive. I can show you the day I reported I was this size, and the day I left 6 weeks later I was 10 kilos.
What was the hardest thing? Meetings?
The anxiety of just having to go and report to people, and then I even went for a retreat trend, and it's work I can do, and it was so easy for me to move from that job and continue what I was doing easily. And I'm doing the same thing, and I'm looking at what I delivered, and I'm like, I mean, these people might think I'm a scam, but it's how I work.
I know,
And so, because of that, I wrote a list, I was telling you earlier, of 100 people I want to interview, who I think...
On a podcast.
Who I think are like me, and they've never told their different story. Whether it's their, like I can mention, like I love DJ Adrian. Everywhere he goes, those guys who stalk Adrian. I don't care what people say he's not social. That guy bends down like this. He rarely waves at you guys unless he sees his friend. He'll at a point come Obama. You know, Obama used to point ghosts. But he's so immersed in what he does because he can't handle the crowd. He's so good when he's in a booth alone at Capital FM. Then at the part one-on-one. So I told him, dude, I know what you have. See, I interview you. And I've met a lot of people. I'm like, people, that's the struggle, and you've never spoken about it.
Are you going to interview me?
Yeah, of course I'll interview. Your story, maybe I have that on you. I'll tell you, I'll psychoanalyze you. You remember earlier you were telling me, oh, Kuka, let's not psychoanalyze everything. I'm like, but it's psychological. I can't help but see it the way I see life. But yes, of course, I'm going to interview you because I want to share your story. I want the honest things about how you feel.
Yeah.
So it's not going to be, because of that, I wrote a list of 100 people. I'm just waiting to get over my, what is it called? It's something you called it.
Imposter syndrome.
Yes. And then we can get that started. But I want people to tell real, authentic stories. Yeah. It's not shiny. So that's what I was saying. USIU, I had to beg to go to USIU. I had to beg to go and do my master's at DISTA. I am begging for a PhD, people. I won't deliver in a group, but I will deliver the research that's in my head.
What do you mean you had to beg? What does that mean? What do you mean?
USIU wasn't taking people from Augustana. I walked into the dean of students. I didn't even want to deal with the administration guys. I was taught in school, you go to the top person. Look for the top person because the struggle is the same. And now you atakudileisha kufika juu. So I wanted, it's called Dr. Gaskins, tall black American bald head, scary looking man. And I gave him a Martin Luther speech of how my writing is going to change our country and Africa, tell stories of Africa. Told me put that in paper. I'm like, now why did I tell him? Now he's telling me to write about it. Does he know I can't write? So that's how I got to USIU. And it's true, I'd done my bridging courses, give me a chance. So for my master's, again, I didn't go to USIU to become an A student. I've never been an A student. How I come? A in some subjects, but not all of them, like Japanese, you know. Yeah, but you are cramming for exams. And they now ask me, the only thing I can say is domo arigato. Thank you very much.
Yeah, that was what I was going to ask. You speak Japanese. You really burst my bubble so fast.
You see that song kids are singing, watashi wa?
Yeah.
That's saying, I am. I am a superstar. So watashi wa Kaimuri Karauki. I am Kaimuri Karauki.
Great. Okay.
San, or can call me Njero-san. S-A-N. But that's it.
But you got A's.
For Japan, everybody got A's in Japanese and human sexuality and music of the world. Those were the A. You wanted to push your GPA, pick one of those every semester you'll get.
You're good.
Balance the C's. So basically, I had to ask. DISTA was also a struggle. I almost didn't get the cutoff to go for, but I went and asked and said, "This is what I'm going to study." So basically, where you can't compensate for with your learning ability, I shall tell my kids, at least jaribu kuwa na utu, be a nice person, be sociable. Yeah, that's why we get the jobs.
Be clever, be clever, street smart.
Yeah, and street smart we are. And then again, maybe even because I know I've walked around many things. Let me just say about dyslexia. why I think it's a superpower is because of an acronym I got somewhere, and I'm forgetting who it is. But when I'm doing my courses, I quote the person. And it's the powers of dyslexia are MIND. Material reasoning. Have you seen that thing architects see, that big picture thing? You can see the building before, you can visualize a building before it's built. You can see, like remember they was telling you about political strategy.
Yeah.
I will say it here in camera. I think Ruto is a very strategic politician. So he didn't wake up one day. He planned for more than 20 years to be a politician. And he did whatever, to be president. And he did whatever it is that needed to be done. Actually not 20, more than, it's 30 years.
He was like, get there or die trying.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And he had a plan for every step. So now that's what happens. So when we talk about things, we don't talk about big things in the sense that you will see in a person who's schizosymptomatic. It's because we can see the achievable, and that's why Richard Branson and all those guys can build very good organizations, because they can see how big it can grow.
Yeah.
And you won't stop a person with such a vision, because they know it's baby steps.
Yeah.
It's not overnight, but I'm going there.
Yeah.
So that's called material reasoning. You can see and visualize and see the problems being solved at a very big scale. And then we have I, and that's interpersonal reasoning. I mean, interpersonal, not reasoning, but it's reasoning. We know a guy. We network so many people.
Yes.
I know a guy who knows a guy who knows. That five people rule doesn't. I usually say if I want to meet someone, it just takes the 5, and I believe it takes the 5. And I'll knock the door and say, please, atataki kitu ingine. That's what I always ask people in entrepreneurship. I don't want your money. I want you to introduce me to that person who has the money. Let me talk for myself. Give me a place to speak. I will come back with the cash. So if you've seen, there's a guy trending called Tony Ndongo. I think that's what he has. Tony anajua kujitetea manzi kwa mtaa. So basically, and he's dyslexic, by the way. So it's interpersonal reasoning. You know a guy who knows a guy and connect that. Yeah. Then and you put together very good teams. So if you know who you need for every job. So even if you're doing events, you can see the whole gig, and I'll talk to so and so. So people tell me, events organizing is really hard. I do events organizing. I'm like, I can organize a gig from my phone. But anyway, that's what people do. Yeah. Because I know a guy, they're on my phone. Exactly. Then N is narrative reasoning. Si tumechapa story. We tell stories mpaka even as guys are shocked. So remember I told you, we could work in propaganda, we write novels. Yeah. Because we can build, we can create a lot of things. Yeah. Albeit the spelling is bad, but hey, nowadays you can even talk to your phone and it writes for you. How cool is that? I mean. So basically, so we are storytellers. And that is even bigger in Africa. We are real storytellers. Africans learned a lot using storytelling. Stories, that's how the blacksmith passed on the skill, storytelling and doing. These stories are theories of blacksmithing. What are those? Yeah. The theories, history of a blacksmith. Who needs it when you need to make a table like this one? Right. You don't need the history. It's the skill. Yeah. So that's how we've passed on information. And so even for Africans to start reading was really hard. So maybe that's why you find the prevalence higher in Africa, because nachapanga story mpaka tunajisahau. Tell us to talk. Yes, at every level. Yeah. Corporates have their storytelling at their level and how they pitch, but mamboch na mama yako kwa chama na wewe kwa chama, because those guys who are in our 40s. I like how watches sometimes say watu unafaa kuongea na watu, you know, na hawasemi, and then they tell you something but they're not telling you, because they've seen everybody, they've seen who walked in where. You stand there for 5 minutes, your brain blows off. Confused. They have stories, porn stories. So narrative reasoning, and that's why that's where you get a lot of really good writers and movie producers. Some Stan, what's that popular? I should have brought my notebook, but a very popular Spielberg. Steven Spielberg. He is dyslexic. So, because he can see things at many different angles, like when I watch a movie with my son, we will tell the general story. My daughter will tell the general story. My son will be like, did you see that cowboy who was walking through how the subtle story? I'm your son. In the back. I'm like, you are dyslexic. Then I agree with your boss, you're dyslexic, because you see extra things. And then you know now, and then that's narrative reasoning. And then the last one is D, dynamic reasoning. Now, do you know people who connect stories? You're like, hey. Like me during maandamano, I didn't want to go initially. Of course I went.
Yeah.
Yeah, because and I went on the day people went to Parliament, but I have been jogging, so my feet really helped me.
Ulienda siku ya deadline.
Siku ya deadline. Ya Parliament ilikuwa siku ya deadline. And then after that they fizzled away. Si ndio? After that ilikuwa tu
it became something else.
That's the day,
something else.
Because so that's the day. No, I went for the ones for the churches because I was tired of people saying the church is not involved. The church is not those big-bellied guys who stand there and pretend to represent us.
I love that.
am the church.
That's true.
So I went because of that. I was tired of people saying. So I went to church that day. I taught my Sunday school class and I left with such urgency. Went home, wrote my posters, we are here, we are the church, reject. You know, we did that. Yeah. He still is a brilliant person. I've not seen him like in 10 years, but he was brilliant. But now for me as a strategist, who is dyslexic? I am thinking we can do this in 20 countries in Africa. And finally redeem Africa. It looked like, for me, my brain was just thinking about how many strategic meetings you need to be in and spaces to make that happen. It was not going to be on overnight. It was not going to be overnight. And I mean, look, that same time we're doing this, that's when KJ was trying to be Dagoretti MP. Saizi ndio ameingia term ya pili. It takes that long.
It takes time.
It takes that long. And now to be a president, unless you've been backed up by...
You've been at it for years.
You have been at it for years. And what people didn't know or think, they thought Ruto was just there for scandals. Yeah, Mahindi and other small things. He was working his way up. Strategically. And even the last election...
Even the ICC thing.
Everything. No, I don't know whether ICC was part of it. Let me not say that. But again, I think he was thinking, why is this being taken away from us? Maybe he thought that was the time for him to step up. So, you know, you're going towards a certain place. Train wenda mbele hivi. Hakuna mali train utambia kata kona ati. O pitia kando, barabara iko na pothole. It's on the rail. So imeweka really, what do you expect?
I hear you.
Yeah.
I want to take a detour now. And talk about relationships. You did have a child, and then you later on got married and had another child. So relationships look different for people with those learning, I don't know, do I call it learning disabilities?
Not just the learning, it's the neurodivergent space.
Neurodivergent space.
The word I hate. I'm like, man, they're saying I'm
I know, even the word neuro sounds like...
Neuro is neurological, it's the brain functioning.
But it sounds huge.
No, I'm deviant. I'm like, hey. So when people start using that word, I'm like, I don't want to use it, it's horrible.
When you talked about, you know, moving from one thing to another, I find that when I'm relating with someone, I connect very fast. And so I know whether I like them very soon or whether I don't like them very soon. Like I know it's so fast. I don't need to do the 100 days.
You know the chick who has to say, wacha nikatiwe kwanza, I stay.
No.
You're in, then you're out.
No, I know so fast.
I think that's not the problem, but that's a challenge. That's a challenge for a lot of people in the neurodivergent space, and for ADHD. Let me speak for ADHD because I live with it. Is first dyslexia, your big picture. We know what we want.
Yes.
And I have always liked a certain kind of people. I won't say it here. I'm not advertising, but there's a certain kind of people I love. You have a type. I have a type. So I don't care the shape or form, but if they have a certain level of intellect, I'm happy. So so when you get the type, your dyslexic big picture, you want that to work for you. So when we get into relationships, honestly, Lillian, we grew up in the same estate. Who was my boyfriend?
I don't know.
Exactly. Exactly. We grew up, so exactly. I asked even one of our pastors that in an interview, like, you were my youth pastor. Did you see me with a boy in school, in church? He thought like, exactly. Because what happens when you have an invisible disability, it's like there are these two weaknesses I have. The community does not talk about them, does not even know I have these weaknesses. So they are my best kept secret. And then someone is coming close enough and they will find out that you're different. So what do you do before they come close enough?
No, not me.
Okay, what do I do? Okay, you wouldn't do that. I mean, you wouldn't.
Nah.
So we flee. So I really never had ati a boyfi. People used to see people ati go, ati we are doing first anniversary, tunakula cake, sijui creamy in. You know, that's what used to be nowadays. Creamy in was ish. Java ilikuwa moja. I didn't have that. You get into a relationship. In fact, before it was awkward. You get a child, you're out. It wasn't even a relationship. It was a thing. It was
the one where you got a child.
Yes. And again, so you go back and say, I was party to it. And it was not a relationship. I got married quickly because someone was like, you're not going to bring up my child outside.
Oh, so you got pregnant again?
Yes. So you're not going to bring up my child outside of marriage. By the way, quickly, I got married. And then I sat there. And the day he asked me to leave, I didn't ask to stay. I didn't beg to stay because I knew I was ready to leave. So basically, even in relationships, you're like, hi, vulnerability. How do you become vulnerable? Who is going to deal with this? They like happy storyteller, fun.
Yeah.
Katika mpaka morning. I tell stories, entertain their friends and their relatives' friends. Then you're that. But then when you go back, you're going back to your cricket kaka room. Create quiet. I wish I had a gun to just. So you go back to your cocoon. Cocoon. And so you remember it's that high flame. So when you need to take a nap, I take a nap in the afternoons. Nowadays, because of self-acceptance, I'm like, Nina Choka, I'll take a nap. If I do something very active, because I know I'm operating on adrenaline, I will burn out. I take a nap or I take away from people. I love my weekends. I lock myself in the house and lock my room and then lock, if I had a house that had like 15 doors inside, I would be in the 16th room. And because that's how I get energy to show up on Monday.
Yeah.
So basically, the relationships are hard when you have to be vulnerable.
Yeah. Then
you remember you can't stay in a job. You're looking for a reason to leave everything, relationships, jobs. So what happens to you economically when you're a rolling stone?
You pick up no
money. So you're on survival mode throughout.
Yeah.
How do you want to show someone that side of yourself? So it becomes, hey, anakuja karibu, you good, chat away.
Yeah.
Oh, Kuka, want to meet? Hi, why don't nataka kukutana? Si atume kahawa kwa Mpesa tajinunulia nini? But it's not that extreme bad. It feels like that.
It does.
And you want to
it's
run.
Scary,
And you're thinking, now, if I go here, I show my vulnerability. And then I'm showing vulnerability for a day, 2, is it a week, a month, 2 years, 10 years, 15 years. I'm seeing people celebrating, my classmates are celebrating 15, 20 years anniversaries. And I'm like, you, that's staying in power.
I know.
I don't have it.
And then, some of your friends, you even know, like, the texture of their marriage. And you're like, can never be me. I mean, I admire you. Congratulations. Can never be me.
Actually, let's people, why do you take that? Because now, see, I'm a fleeing person. Solution, kama yiko hivyo toka uende.
Yeah.
But people sit down and solve problems, Lillian.
And strategize.
And strategize and work on things.
Yeah.
When the last time you did work on anything? I can't. Well, now, but honestly, you're doing that. I stopped myself at 40. I'm like, oh my God. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Look at that. So when you start understanding, and then you're sensitive to rejection, it's higher when you have ADHD. You're critical to yourself.
Yeah.
It's higher, way higher. It's like to the power of something you don't know.
Yeah.
I was telling you, even dealing with a problem, you will see, if I step on your toe, Lillian, I'll tell you sorry and go, and you wouldn't even think of it.
Yeah.
I will live with it all my life. I'm like, oh my goodness. Labda Lillian siku hizi nipigiangi. Nile kidole nilikanyaga. Now was that finger? Was it amputated? What if she ever... Can you see where I've gone?
Sasa ufanye makosa unipige nikose kushika. Kwisha.
That's it. And I don't even know that. Probably Lillian is locking herself there. I lock myself in to do my job or to even to recoup.
Yeah. Something else she's going to. Yeah.
Where? So inakuanga complicated. So what happens? You isolate yourself and others. Yeah. So you find you're bringing up your children alone. You have a small knit community. Wale wanakuelewa tu. Na hata wale wanakuelewa kiwauza, wewe unamuelewa aje? They're like, hey. Ile kuelewa wanakuja sema usijali kwa kana kwanga tu hivyo. Kwanga tu hivyo is not tangible. They can't tell you what it is. Yeah. So that becomes really complicated.
Yeah.
But when you know. I say for all these things, awareness helps. Because when I discovered, at 40, I'm like, yeah. And even then, you see, I struggled with that job. But now I'm able to say, I wish I said it sooner that I don't want to see you people until I deliver my project. And maybe that's what I should have said. Then I wouldn't have gotten. I really needed the job. but
Yeah.
but it's. Can I deliver? Yes, but when you're person, I can't.
I can't.
Because I usually do a draft and walk away from it for days, and then I come back and write. So basically, like what we did for that other book, and we did like several of those last minute. So that becomes for relationships.
It's tough.
And then how are you telling? And there are many other layers. You're either anxious. What about the days you don't want to leave your room for a day or two, and you're supposed to go and visit your mother-in-law?
How do you communicate to a partner that you are in that space? At least now you know when you're in that space. You know when you're feeling sad or a type of way. Do you give them a heads up? How do you do it?
Let me start with my children. It's safer to say that because let me tell you how we function in our house.
Yeah.
It's usually, it's a heads up. It's like, today I'm not really happy. Today is that day I need to drink a lot of cocoa and sleep.
Yeah.
Don't come. Don't call me. Don't knock my door. And today could be today, tomorrow, and 5 days from now. And it's fine. And so those boundaries. But have you accepted that you're like that?
You have to first accept.
Then communicate to who? Who is going to accept that? So you have to be vulnerable to another level when you are thinking. And remember, we don't do vulnerability, we run. Us guys are runners. Morife. It's us guys. So now by the time ujieke hiyo safety belt au unajua ya kazi ni rahisi kuweka. It makes logic, I will sit here and finish this task.
Yeah.
Safety belt ya relationship iko wapi?
Iko wapi?
The minute you think, okay, if they find out, I'm like this. Hey, the one time or one of the few times I have shared who I am, man, I cry like crazy. I throw up. My stomach runs. It's the gut just goes. So because you're that anxious, because now you've worried so much about what people will think, and then you have enough acid in your body to make your stomach run. Yeah. So basically, it's crazy. But again, people say, oh, everyone says, yeah, I think I have ADHD. I'm like, do you have ADHD? Do you deal with those social things? Do you go through that? Do you go through self-loath? Do you go through being sensitive about rejection? Do you go through deep anxiety? I was telling you earlier, I don't know a day without. I don't think I've lived a day that I've not been anxious. How? I am always worrying about something, anything. There's a worry. And then you tell me, oh, do not worry about it. Then give me the Bible verse. Read it yourself. Even it's on my Bible and God created me like this. So don't tell me.
So seriously, but how do you cope? Because you have to cope with the worry. What do you do when you're just worried?
So for me, what works, for the umpteenth time, I have a twin sister. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Yes.
So she calls me every day.
She does.
Hi, sunshine. I love you. She tells me, I love you with an accent. Oh, yes, we do that. We even cry. Then, I literally have put a sticker next to the bedside, whatever, like, wake up, sunshine, wake up. You put affirmations. You have to say it, even though they don't believe it. Utapata ukiambia mtu, by the way, do you know me, I'm amazing.
Yeah.
But before that, you walked from a dark place.
Yeah.
So my I love you with an accent. If she doesn't call me, I'm like, you don't stop loving me with an accent. Yeah, that works. It's always get people who you can be vulnerable with. And so Cookie checks on me. Then there's another chick called Carol. Carol Karauki. I love her with 2 accents.
Oh, love
her accents. You're like, uko happy? She's always excited and positive. I'm thinking, who created this one?
Wow.
Yeah, so that has been a really good balance.
You are always excited and positive.
No, it's a decision. Like they picked a black dress and this Ankara jacket.
Yeah.
I picked a mood in the morning. I show up. So because you know how much effort it takes for you to show up for people.
Yeah.
You also, when you show up, you don't ignore people. You're nice to them. So you'll be conversational. I want to know how all these guys are doing. Nikina nani watoto wao ni wangapi? So you become personable.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it took you a lot.
Yeah.
So basically that's how.
Okay. There's a lot we can say. I'm sure we're going to have part 2 of this conversation someday.
I'll be glad to have that.
And if somebody wants to be assessed by you or have a conversation, introspective conversation where they want to place themselves, know their purpose, know who they are, how can they reach you?
So first, I remember we are a startup, so a lot of our work will be online. And so Learning Differently Limited is, we have a threefold approach. Awareness, so we have short courses to create awareness about specific learning disabilities, ADHD and autism spectrum disease. So basically, autism spectrum disorder. So basically, we have short courses on about 4 modules to be able to upskill teachers, because I think every teacher should know. With the prevalence we're talking about, every teacher should know. Yeah. So we upskill teachers. So if you want your teachers or your school to go online and learn, so it's online, we are willing to connect you. So our office is, so the first one is awareness. Then the second one is the second A is assessment. We believe that children should get early interventions, and early assessment so that the interventions start early. Yeah. And so for now we are linking people to proper assessors, but we hope that eventually Africa will have a tool that's relevant for us, so that we can be able to make it affordable for children to be assessed at the 3 different levels, at the beginning of primary school, into middle school, and beginning of high school, so that again interventions are offered properly, and again the learning styles change at that stage of the child's life. So, and then the last one is interventions. So the first intervention is we are training, upskilling SNE teachers, special needs education teachers, to be able to provide their services, because a lot of parents, we discovered, do not know where to get paid teachers who can help them now, as we hope for the whole teaching space to be upskilled, educated about learning disabilities. So we are upskilling SNE teachers. We'll put them as learning coaches on our platform, so you can access that and be able to interact with them. But of course, eventually we want to create learning content that will supplement learning, that's delivered in the way we learn. You know, all those funny things of saying big picture image and storytelling and all those things. So we want class to be different. So we'll be using local and international curriculum, but delivering the lessons differently. So basically that's in the pipeline for, I've just given you our next 5 years, but also hoping that one day we can collaborate to have a tool for Africa. So how do you get us? We are on www.learningdifferently.info, and so our socials will get us on learningdifferently.africa on Facebook, .learningdifferently I think on Instagram, but you'll find me a lot. I'm also Learning Differently on what's the other one, the official one, LinkedIn, and then Learning Differently, Learning DL on Twitter.
Thank you for making time for us.
And thank you for having me.
You're a ball in a burst of energy.
Don't worry, you're crumbling into ashes in a bit.
You're going to take a nap.
Of course, I take a nap every day at 2 o'clock. If you're in your 40s, please take a nap. Yeah. Okay. It helps.
Sawa. This conversation is definitely to be continued. Please subscribe to this channel if you haven't. This is Wellness with Lily channel. I'm so excited for this opportunity to begin this channel and to have conversations about our minds, what's happening in our minds, because it's affecting everything else that's happening around us. Thank you for joining us, and please follow us on all the platforms, Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, all those. We are Wellness with Lily. Thank you for watching, and bye.